tier list. So we're actually doing all the maps from both original Star Wars Battlefront and original Star Wars Battlefront 2 from a long, long time ago, obviously. We're going to do our best to place them, these maps, at least as far as I feel like how much fun, obviously, I had, and what the maps have to offer as far as game modes and everything like that. So let's just get started. So my favorite has to be Coruscant. I don't know why. I think it was just the original Star Wars Battlefront 2. I had so much fun on this map no matter which version I was playing. I think the heroes were fun on it as far as like Darth Maul and Mace Windu. I think games like that where it's cool to have people that never faced each other, you know, never really knew each other in the movies, obviously, as well as I think the map was designed pretty well, somewhat a 3-lane map-ish, with pretty good command posts and everything like that. And I think there was a solid. I never really played Capture the Flag on it, but I think the distance from each flag was good. I think it was an overall great map. It was always fun. You know, there's stuff in the middle. There's obviously routes to go on each side. So I had fun on it, and I had fun playing, whether it was the Galactic or Republic version of it. I also honestly, some of these I don't remember. Let's see. I'm gonna give Kashyyyk a B, and the biggest reason why in this one is that honestly somehow whatever team was inside the wall, even though they had Wookiees to help, they were just somewhat at a disadvantage. I think it's so easy. The fact that there's only 4 command posts and 3 of them are essentially big areas that are easily capped. I always felt like there's a lot of maps that you always feel like one side kind of has the advantage, and it's not the one that has the Wookiees on their team for this one. That's at least how I always felt. Plus, always this team has essentially always has vehicles, because once you take out this one, the vehicles go away for their side. So it's pretty easy to 3-cap hold that one, at least as far as what I felt, as well as they're much easier to get on these stands in the middle, and hold that as well. They have an advantage in that. So I just think that there's a huge advantage from this side, but I did enjoy playing on it. It was always fun, and even some of the times, you know, obviously playing on the wall side is fun because you kind of know that you're down, so you kind of have to, you know, sweat a little bit, make sure you're doing what you can to win. But I think that is the downside of why it can't be any higher. But I think it is definitely a cool map, and I did always have fun playing it, for sure. Let's see. Hoth. Honestly, any of the Hoths are just okay. I don't really enjoy them myself. Obviously, it's cool to see the big, you know, vehicles, ATTs and ATSTs and stuff like that, but I think it's just more of like that's the only cool part about it. Other than that, it's just big, you know, essentially snow desert of nothing and just a few fights going on, and basically if you're not around in or around the big vehicles then or flying, you're just kind of not really in it, and it's not as fun. I'm trying to remember all these because some of these obviously were different for each one. So we'll do Mos Eisley. Mos Eisley is difficult. Alright, we'll give it an S. Okay, so the biggest reason why I hesitated to put it in S is because most obviously on regular conquest where it's, capture the posts, it's pretty shitty. Alright, it's just not good. But the biggest thing that carries this, one is Hunt, which obviously is like Jawas versus the Sand, what the hell are they called? Sand people. I know it's probably not the right term. I can't think of their name. But the biggest thing that carries this is the Assault, where it's Heroes versus Villains, which is the only map you can do that, at least in Star Wars Battlefront 2 that I remember. So it definitely deserves a nod up there. But some of these maps obviously do have the hunts on them where you can be, different people such as that, where you could be the Jawas and the Sand people. And there's a couple other ones, I forget what all of them are. Honestly, it's been a minute. But that was fun too. But obviously, the biggest thing that puts that up there is the whatchamacallit, the Assault. Polis Massa. I honestly will give this an S too. I always had a whole lot of fun playing this. I think it was super fun because it was very corridor driven. There's yes, it can be annoying because there's a lot of death, but I think that's what makes it more fun. It's like two sides fighting over kind of just a small area, and no team can, you kind of need that advantage to move forward. But I do think that there's at least a few routes to get in these areas to where it's not just, run down this hallway and get shot or naded to death. There's kind of it's a small area, but there's multiple entry forms in. Obviously, going outside too can be fun, especially to get some flanks, but the problem with going outside on that map was if you got out of your vehicle, you were gonna die because you were out in space. So you started instantly losing health. But I always had a fun time, and I don't really think that either side had too big of a advantage or disadvantage. I thought it was just, pretty much whoever was landing the kills and pushing down those hallways, that was who was at least winning. Jabba's Palace, I'm going to put in B. I think the biggest reason it can't move up or down is because of the damn Guardians that were always coming up and slashing everybody. I honestly don't remember if they would just slash whoever or if they would only slash one team. It's been a minute. Obviously, seeing Jabba and seeing the Rancor is cool, and the Rancor, yes, obviously will kill you if you drop down in there. The map was alright. It wasn't anything special, but I think the biggest thing was that was kind of cool that kept it up in B, in my opinion, was the Guardians coming around and stabbing. As much as you hated it, it was still kind of like, oh shit, we have to watch out for something else other than, normal people, because these things will just come and eat you alive. What is left? I'm trying to see some of the maps. Death Star I'm putting in D. I don't know how anybody liked that map. I don't even remember it very well. It was literally just, there was nowhere to go. You were always falling off the map or have the potential to fall off. The posts weren't that great. I felt like I was either always running around to get somewhere, or I was in a fight where I had no cover, nothing, to kind of help. It was just a death spot, if you will. So I never really had fun on Death Star. I don't think it's a good map, in my opinion, obviously. I don't remember which of these was either one, but I'll give both Caminos a B. I think they were both solid. I don't have anything bad to say about them. I don't remember either side having too big of an advantage on either one of them. Yeah, they were alright. I don't have anything bad to say, but I don't really have anything that'll make it better. Kashyyyk Docks. Kashyyyk Docks is difficult. It's at least a B. But you know, I think I'll give this a nod to A. I think I had a lot more fun on this Kashyyyk than I did that one. I think there was the biggest thing this one did is that there was a lot of platforms and there was a lot of fighting on the platforms and down these. I guess they're not hallways, but passages, if you will, or something like that. I think the areas of fighting were a lot more fun than this Kashyyyk. This one was much more sniper vehicle driven, and this one was much more infantry driven. So it kind of just depends on which one you would rather play with. I don't remember liking Cloud City, honestly. I think the command posts were really good. But I think I don't know. I never felt like I was having a crazy amount of fun on it. I think it was solid for the game mode, but the feeling of it wasn't really there. I think it was almost like too easy for either team to just literally keep circling and picking up command posts and killing people, which is fun, but I don't know. I never really felt like I was like excited to go to that map. Now the platforms I'm gonna give. Honestly, I'm gonna give to S. I feel like this was super fun, much like Polis Massa. I think this was pretty solid as far as you have essentially this passage with sections to hide behind for each side, and platforms and command posts are both sides, so you can literally play any type of infantry as far as sniping, assault rifle, rocket launcher. You can play anybody and you can be successful. Not that you will, but I think it was super fun to be able to play in these corridors, and that's where almost 90% of the fights were on this map. And it felt good too because you almost had to go through many of them to like really feel that advantage, like I know that there was one side that kind of automatically got this middle command post, so it was still a 2v2, but they could kind of get a little bit further ahead, I felt like, all the time. But I think once that team kind of pushed and got their 3 command posts and got it, then it was more fight at another passageway. I just remember having so much fun on that map all the time. I thought it was just solid firefights no matter who you wanted to play as or with or anything. These Kashyyyk Islands, I don't really even remember, but I don't remember liking it from what I do remember very much. Yeah, I don't remember that very much at all, actually. Let's see. Dagobah. Honestly, Dagobah's D. I mean, you couldn't see half the time. The map wasn't laid out good. The only thing that was somewhat cool about it is that you could go underground to capture command posts, but that doesn't make it that good. I just always felt annoyed on that map. I was never happy to go there. You can't see anybody unless they're bright freaking white or something. They're shooting, I don't know. Both Geonosis. I don't remember which one is which, unfortunately. So I think the Spire is actually from, so that looks like the second one. So I'll put the second one in B and this one in C. So I'm going based off, I believe this is the second, the Battlefront 2 Geonosis, and this is the first one. The first one's just kind of annoying to me. I never really found it super fun, but I think it was cool just because it was very vehicle driven. It was probably the most vehicle driven infantry map, if that makes sense, out of a lot of maps. This one, I would agree with the same thing. I think it's super vehicle driven for infantry map as well, which made it fun. And I like this one better because there was more vehicles on each side and stuff to do. And this one was more just annoying. You were always getting killed by vehicles compared to this one, which was a little bit less. It was more vehicle versus vehicle than it was vehicle versus people. Megiddo, I honestly kind of liked. I don't think that I can make it any better, but I always had a decent time playing it. I think the command posts were in a decent spot. I think there was vehicles, but they weren't like there wasn't a lot of them to where it was like overpowered, like some Battlefield type stuff where it's, the vehicles just ruining the map essentially. But I did like the command posts, and I didn't feel like either side had like a huge advantage, and I thought the fights were alright, from what I remember there. Felucia, I'll give Felucia a C, only because it was cool looking and because there was animals that could fuck you up. But I didn't really like it. I didn't like how spread out everything was. The vehicles didn't make sense. Yeah, honestly, the only reason it's in C is because it was a cool map to look at, and it was cool that there was animals on it that'll fuck you up, but other than that, shitty for gameplay no matter what, to me. Yatupu, I'll give Yatupu a B as well. I think it was solid. I don't think anything really gives it an A. I felt like for how the map was laid out, the fights were just kind of funky. They didn't really flow well, and neither did the command posts, in my opinion. Obviously, in all these maps, I never really played a lot of the space stuff, which I know is a lot of people's favorite stuff, but the space stuff was obviously a little funky, and most of it, honestly, I felt was kind of boring, just to go get on the ship and blow it up. I felt like was somewhat boring. But Yatupu was alright. I think it was more cool in the layout and the command posts, but I think the fights never felt solid for where they were supposed to be taking place, I guess. Indoor, same way. I don't really even remember this map very well. I think the only thing that was cool about it was the Ewoks, really, and the stuff that, like the traps that they set up for like the ATSTs and whatnot. I thought that was pretty cool as well. But overall, as far as the map and gameplay, it just wasn't there for me. I didn't enjoy it too much. Both of these maps I actually really enjoyed. I think that there was just a whole lot of fighting constantly. Why they're not an S for me, I think, is more of this one. The fighting was just kind of all over the place. It was just kind of a mass explosion on the map, so it wasn't always fun. It was more just kind of like Nuketown for you Call of Duty players. It's either you kind of have a better side or you just have a better game because your team is shutting down a side essentially. So if you can do that, then it's more fun. This one, basically the same thing. Whoever was on the this side essentially was winning for the most part because the other side sucked to spawn on. But they were still both very fun. I felt like the there was a lot of action all the time on these. This one a little bit more inside the cave, obviously, but everybody was in there, so it wasn't like you were going many other places. These Yavin maps, I don't remember too well. I remember one of them being decent on the original, I think it was. I might be wrong. But still not at the top of my list. Naboo really either. I didn't really like either of the Naboos. Honestly, I like the Naboos on the recent Battlefront and Battlefront 2, the more recent ones these years, and not the original 2 games. But I don't know. I never really felt anything for either of those, but they were somewhat cool at times. Mustafar I'll give a B. I felt like there were basically just hot spots of fighting, but I do feel like the command posts were solid in the sense of you can actually flank and cap them, but it wasn't, too crazy. You kind of had to take some time, so it didn't feel like constant flanking caps. It was, like, oh shit, they flanked and got that one, we have to do something about it, or go get our own or something. But I do feel like the fights were fun, being like inside those corridors, as well as, some of the outside ones were cool as well. Tatooine, I don't remember that being too amazing. I think most of it was more just cool for the nostalgia part of it. It wasn't that great of a map to me for anything. This one is a little difficult because I think that one's C2. I don't know. From the movie compared to where the fights were supposed to take place there, it was just never there. It was honestly just like a command post smash for one team. There's only like 2 command posts that everybody was fighting at, because the other ones were on the whole other side of the map that you essentially had to go through or weirdly flank and hope that no one saw you. And the rest of the game modes are just not there. So this is where I would put everybody's map, not everybody's, the maps for the original 2 Star Wars Battlefront and Star Wars Battlefront 2 games from way back in the day on some Gen 1 consoles and not 2020 or on consoles. So let me know what you guys think, where you guys would place some of these maps. Obviously, certain times I've had fun on every single one of these maps and had terrible times on even some of my favorites, but this is just overall what I had a good time playing on and with, especially with, heroes, which we didn't bring up too much, honestly, until, well,